is the day after the protests, protested the Bush speech at Monticello, where he came out and actually spoke to an audience of non-military people and non-Republicans. So he was going into kind of strange territory, Mr. Bush, and I have said that he might not want to do this again. I don't know. He's probably going to get protested. But I was curious to see how the quote-unquote regular media, mainstream media, handled this story, how they covered it. And lots of them, unfortunately, I'm looking, well, here's the Washington Post, how they covered it. They just said, anti-war demonstrators interrupt annual naturalization ceremony at Monticello. And they emphasized that there were only 6 protesters. But the crowd was 3,000. And no arrests were made. And then, okay, this is in the first 2 paragraphs. Let's see. It said, then the rest of the article is just a huge photo op celebration of W. Bush and this great land of America. And of course, America never makes mistakes, and we never want to criticize America. If we criticize America, we whisper, and we don't do it really out loud. Most of the time, we just fly the flag and say America is great. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the rest of the whole rest of the Washington Post article, isn't this great? We're a great country. Isn't this a great thing? And it doesn't talk anything about the war or the fact that our elections are rigged. Here's the photograph in the Washington Post, the phony baloney, smiley, feel-good, staged photo op baloney. That's in the Washington Post. Yes, the feel-good article in the Washington Post also didn't mention, conveniently, that the xenophobia and hatred of foreigners in general. Mexicans, we hate the Mexicans coming into our country illegal. We want to put up a huge wall to keep the Mexicans out. We distrust and hate the Arabs. Now that Obama's running, the racism, the black-white divide, and people aren't going to vote for a black man. Yeah, this is a great, great country. A great melting pot. Oh yeah, the bubblegum, bubblegum article, the bubblegum really feely goody article in the Washington Post on page 2. It didn't also mention that it's becoming very difficult now to get into this country because of our xenophobia and our sort of arrogant Christian, we don't like anybody, we're the superior culture and the superior people, and I don't know if we really believe in the melting pot. We don't mind people coming in and taking lousy jobs, but we're basically a Christian nation, basically a white Christian nation. I guess the Washington Post can't really come out with such bold truths as those. But it's very hard now for people to emigrate into this country to get visas because the State Department, A, doesn't really want foreigners in this country, and B, the State Department is incompetent under the Bush people. But of course, the Washington Post doesn't really want to mention this in this feel-good 4th of July article that's going to make everyone feel good around the barbecue. But let's point out the 4 million refugees. Now we've created, because of our stupid war in Iraq, because of our stupid president, W. Bush, we created 4 million refugees, Iraqi refugees, who are trying to save their lives and trying to hold their lives together. And a lot of them are trying to flee to the United States. Guess what the good old US of A is doing? We're not letting them come here. We're not processing their visas. It's taking them forever. Even the people that actually helped us, the interpreters, people who were employed in Iraq and now are scared for their lives, we couldn't. America the Great couldn't give a damn. We could not give a damn. George Bush couldn't give a damn. Dick Cheney couldn't give a damn. Apparently the Washington Post doesn't. Many of the people in the Washington Post, I can't say all, but many of the reporters in the Washington Post couldn't give a damn. They're going to report these feel-good articles. If you're fed up with all of this lying and deception and incompetence and corruption, you might want to do what these Code Pink ladies did with the protest. Well, not do exactly, but you might want to raise your voice and use your First Amendment right. The one that George Bush was chuckling about as the people were being led away by the quote-unquote security people. You might want to use your freedom of expression. And you could call the White House, the White House comment line tomorrow between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. and then the number is 202-456-1111, and you'll get a hapless volunteer operator who probably doesn't know very much or thinks that George Bush is still a good president and the Iraq War was still a good idea. But you humor them anyway. And you tell them that you're sick of the president and you're sick of the war, and you're tired of this. You're tired of the Constitution being trampled on and the Congress being ignored and people getting. And you know what? You might want to tell them also as well that you're worried about this talk of about a third war against Iran and perhaps a nuclear strike, or the third war in Iran to me is too much. 2 wars are plenty. 2 wars are plenty. Afghanistan and Iraq is, I think, all that we need at this point. But you might want to call the White House. And you could even you could write a letter to the editor, or you could even give the Washington Post a little jingle and say your article sucked. Your article on the thing sucked. It didn't talk about anything real, except that the 70 people there that were very happy to become United States citizens, and everybody got a little photo op and smiled, and some people got led away by security. Everyone smile now. Bye bye.